What's up, guys? Welcome back to Wrenching Wrecked. We're still jamming on the ironhead. Unfortunately, all of these mounts that I just finished welding in are not gonna work. Go figure. I think I mentioned I was gonna try and get the electric start stuff set up on this. I finally have all the parts. So I didn't do the ring gear yet. I just kind of mocked these up, and I still need the little spacer that goes behind the starter solenoid. But this sitting in here like that seemed okay. I'm excited I finally have everything, but I also need to get the oil tank to fit, and that's where the issues kind of start. So we are still planning on running the same half horseshoe type oil tank here, which honestly would work just fine if we kept it kickstart. But now I'm running into clearance issues like crazy down here. So the oil fitting's going right into the solenoid for the feed. This is gonna have to come up a bit, and then we're probably gonna end up putting a 90 on the bottom of this anyway and divert that back. That should give me the clearance I need. But the issue is my bracket is going to be in the way, no matter how that lays out on the left side. So unfortunately, I get to take all of this off and start from scratch. I did not weld the fender bungs on yet. That's what I was hoping this video was gonna be. But instead, we are gonna go back to the original plate that I had, lay this out here across the top of the frame, just like that. We'll still do the bungs on the fender, but this is gonna end up laying out something more like that with the bungs on the top side. There is plenty of room with the seat we have, because I am kind of thinking we're probably gonna end up going that seat route. Worst case, we can kind of tweak that a little bit as needed, but I need the clearance down below for the E-start components. And I'm not gonna lie, I had my 81 ironhead. I think we did a couple of videos on that over the years before we sold that, but the 81 ironhead I had was an electric start, but it was a later model, which was drastically different on the starter setup. It doesn't have all this big giant housing stuff. It's just a single input with the solenoid right on the actual starter motor, whereas this one is more like a shovelhead style where it's separate pieces with the solenoid, even though it's a bigger plate. But on this setup, my original design, go figure, I needed these parts. I was trying to get these parts. I didn't have them when I started laying this out. I thought it was all gonna work. It won't. So, yay, more cutting, grinding, taking things apart. I thought I was making progress and then realized I just set myself farther back. So I don't know how much of that I'm gonna film, but I am gonna yank the wheel out of here, cut this tab off. The other option I thought about is offsetting this, where we got one tab over there, one tab on top. I think that's gonna be kind of goofy. I think I would much rather have clean bracket up top with the bungs, all of which will tuck in underneath the seat and disappear when you go for the install, and then it'll keep this a little bit more open. But for now, wheels got to come off again, lots of grinding in tight quarters. So I'm guessing when you come back, this will all be off again. Then we'll start messing around on the top side. So frustrating. Doubt we're going to be putting anything together today, but at least get it prepped.
Well, howdy, y'all. Well, did you miss me? Go on and say I told you so. Yeah, now I know the straight life is a no-go. I was wrong. I tried to get domesticated, but yesterday I finally couldn't take it, and I was gone. I probably should have told my wife, but the minute I saw the light, I just dug out my boots and threw out the fanny pack, sold the fan and got my old Harley back, cranked up the bike and flew out the cul-de-sac, straight to the nearest bar. AC/DC on the jukebox, back in black. Got so drunk I was singing like a maniac, smoked so much I about had a heart attack. So it's a fact, the rascal is back. They got back, I ain't gonna lie. I dressed up in a suit and tie, pulled out the driveway 7:45. Yeah, in the morning. She started having baby fever. She made me trade my Harley for a Kia. Oh, help me, Lord. I saw my reflection in the minivan and thought, this ain't who I am. So I dug out my boots and threw out the fanny pack, sold the van and got my old Harley back, cranked up the bike and flew out the cul-de-sac, straight to the nearest bar. AC/DC on the jukebox, back in black. Got so drunk I was singing like a maniac. Smoked so much I about had a heart attack. I woke up in someone's yard. The rascal is back. All I had, but then I think about it, dear. Boy, I sure am glad that I dug out my boots and threw out the fanny pack, sold the van and got my old Harley back, picked up the bike and flew out the cul-de-sac. AC/DC on the jukebox, back in black. Got so drunk I was singing like a maniac. Smoked so much I about had a heart attack. So hang on to your hats. The rascal is back.
That went surprisingly quicker than I thought, so I got this all ground down again. Fender's back on, wheels back on. We're in pretty good shape here. Let me kick this up just a tiny bit. Got the fender bolted down on the lower. I'm gonna take our bungs from the other assembly, lay these out on our new fancy bracket. It's nice. I made this bracket the other day. Didn't think I was gonna use it, but didn't throw it out because it's still useful. And now I think this is actually probably going to be a better idea than the original. I was hoping to kick it underneath the seat post rail, but sometimes it doesn't work that way, like right now. So rear fender's floating. Now we're basically going to do the exact same thing, but this time we're going to do it on top of the fender. So let me grab that chain, throw that in the wheel so I at least have a reference. I don't need this walking all over on me, but we want that to sit pretty flush on there. I got the axle semi-snugged in. And then we'll just eyeball and center this up. So we're gonna end up doing something like that instead. That'll bridge across the bottom back as well as this center post. Definitely thicker than the old bracket that was on there. And that should work just fine. Lots of trial and error mock-up stuff here, but it should work. I didn't think we were going to weld anything today, but now that I'm kind of messing with it, I think we'll at least get that frame one done. Pretty much leave myself exactly where we were last time. And for anybody asking, as far as the sissy bar and the taillight assembly, not positive exactly what we're doing with that yet. I think we're kind of leaning towards the one he had on here. He's got a little cat eye, but I think what we're going to try and do is put it on the, I might try and talk him into putting it up on the sissy bar. I personally think that's the best spot for it. I don't like the little side mount taillights in the back. They just tend to, one, you can't see them if you hang it off the axle on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. It's hard to see them when you're actually riding, unless you're right behind it. But that's the mount, so we're gonna tack this thing up. Only tacks today. I'm gonna be smart about it instead of getting ahead of myself. Get some stuff tacked in, I think. We'll try and see what to do after that. All right, a couple tacks on here. Much happier with that. The welder's working well today too. That's helpful. All right, well, that's where we're going to leave that one for now. Definitely a cleaner spot there. I'll actually finish burn that in just because this might actually see some sort of weight and support, but that will work just fine. I'm happy with that. Then essentially what we got to do is tack up the rear sissy bar mounts, or we can Sharpie around on these, lay this out and tack those up. There's going to be a lot of tacking on this rather than sitting here trying to finish or rush anything. I want to make sure everything's tacked up and then make sure I can get the oil tank and the other starter bits in, because I messed up last time and it's not fun redoing things over and over and over again. It's supposed to be almost done, or so I thought. But we made a mistake. That's gonna be a pain to try and get a TIG torch on. Let's see. What do I want to do here? I like to tack those two bungs on the fender. And I can at least have it set when we get back to the rear. Yeah, you know what? Let me fire up the TIG torch. We're gonna try and get a couple tacks on these bungs. I don't know how many you're gonna be able to see or what you'll be able to see. There's no way to put you anywhere over here. That's not in my way, but we're gonna try and go for 2 or 3, ideally 3 tacks on each side. I just don't know how much room we actually have with that bracket actually mounted. But if I can at least get it tacked in place, then I should be okay with if we can get the bracket tacked in place, we should be able to yank it off and finish the finalized welds at a later date. And I'm happy with where this is sitting. Yep, I'm good on that one. So get over to the other side. Man, I really gotta clean up here. I'm tripping over grinders and chains and all sorts of stuff. Not good. More heat. Just a little awkward. to get in here now. That'll do. Got 2 tacks on each of those. Used to have those super big cups, which were nice because you can stick that tungsten out way farther for tight things like this. But in the course of moving, I broke them, so I don't have those anymore. But we have a fender that's now tacked in place. All right, so obviously this hardware is going to get replaced, but we got the bracket tacked onto the frame. Or almost rigid now, even on 2 small tacks. Ideally, I'll pull the bottom of this. Once the fender bracket comes off, I'll throw 1 more tack on there. I might actually do that right now. Loosen the lower mount, tack 2 more spots on there so then I can have it at least queued up for finish welding. Get a nice even gap around here. Chain is on the tire, so we're not rusting on there. Brakes mounted. This lower bracket we might still cut off, but that should be doable later. But with those tacked up and in place before we start taking things apart, let's see what the oil tank's gonna wanna do here, because that was the biggest issue last time. But with that gone, I can get this tucked all the way up here, and I might not even need to run a 90. So we are back in a good spot. So that's good. Crisis averted. Just ended up having to do the same amount of work all over again, because if you're doing mock-ups and welding stuff, tack everything in first before you burn anything in final until you get the rest of your parts. So I tried doing it with the oil tank and I had plenty of clearance, but I didn't realize how high the solenoid and the starter actually stick up. So live and learn, grind, weld, repeat, right? Isn't that how that goes? I do think I'm gonna pop this off. I'm gonna throw one or two more tacks on this on the lower sides, just so that's stationary, then bolt it back in. Then we're ready to kind of move on to this back mount section. Fun. All right. Now, we got a fender. So let me set this somewhere where I can comfortably weld this. I think just like that on the bench. Actually, the ground's gonna clip onto the fender anyway, so I wanna do 2 tacks, one here, one here, one here, one here. And we'll kind of work that around a little bit. Should make it a little bit better for us in terms of trying to finalize this. And let me grab my other glove and we'll get rolling. Basically just trying to get a 4 corners setup done here. And do little short tacks. will work for now. Fender's gonna get bolted back up for now. I don't want to finish weld that until we get the other bits done. I don't know how much you guys can see or not, but we're just bolting this on. Nothing fancy. It was on, now it was off, now it's going right back on. Desperately need to get the right size hardware still. We'll tighten these down. Then we can take a look at what we're going to do on the rear. Looks pretty good to me. Come around back here and take a closer look in a second, but right there. It's pretty much where it's gonna land, so I'm gonna snug this down now. Just like that. There we have it. That's actually mounted now. Not final welded or anything, but we got it actually mounted up, welded in to the frame. Look at that, nice and stable. Just those little bits. So last part's gonna be the structure on the rear sissy bar. So let me grab some bungs and other things and see what we got for options here. We can run a bolt through the fender and out with a little cappy bit, or I can weld a thing on the back side. I can run these with a countersunk bit with the bolt that goes through the side of the fender. As long as I put a nut on the inside of that, that would bolt in, that'd be okay. But I think I would actually prefer having the sissy bar come out the other way, or the hardware come out from the fender. Some of these and have the bolt go from the inside out. That might actually end up being a little bit cleaner. We could do something like this on there, grind this down on the sissy bar, get those little brackets off. This will sit flush there. We can weld that up onto the sissy bar. Right about there, I think that might actually be the best bet. Maybe we'll do it on the front side. I like these because they're capped on the outside. They'll look good when they're coated and be kind of uniform, but then I can run a bolt from the inside of the fender out this way. It'll thread into here, as opposed to going the other way of having the threaded end of the bolt go in, having the threaded end of the bolt go into the fender closer to the tire. If anything, I want even like a button head bolt coming through here. But I think I kind of like these little end ones here. Kind of what I'm thinking. I don't even know where the sissy bar is right now in relationship to where the seat and all of that are going to go. Still got to cut that bolt out of the seat, but that'll sit there like that. This will land there. Yeah, that's actually not too bad at all. Get this guy on there. That'll come back once we grind this weld down. That's about on the, it's on the flat section of the fender here. That'll sit about flush with the sissy bar. I think that's probably what we are gonna end up doing. Executive decision. We'll weld a washer on the backside too. So it's not a bolt head pulling into the sissy bar part. It'll at least have a little bit of structure to widen that. So we'll weld a washer once we get that figured out, mounted, drilled. But next up, we're gonna have to start grinding on this sissy bar. Do I want to take that out right now? Not really. That'll be a little more detailed height-wise. We're not doing it under the Fender strap like there used to be on there. We'll just go with these. That's another day's project. I got way farther on the Fender than I anticipated, so feeling pretty good on that now. I know the seat's not my personal favorite design, but it does fit this pretty well. And it does give him the option of doing 2-up a little bit more comfortably than he would with like a P-pad or something. But I think that's where we're gonna wrap this one up for today. Not the video, but for me working on it right now. And then we'll come back when I get back. Might have the sissy bar ground down by then because I don't want to spend all day up here. So we'll catch you a little bit later. Well, I thought I was done, but the whole point of moving those brackets was to make sure the oil tank clears. So we are going to attempt doing a rough mock-up of this in here, if possible. Got 2 sets of brackets here. And these just essentially pinch the frame, unfortunately. Really should have grabbed a drill, huh? See if I can at least get 2 bolts in here for now to hold it so I can go to the other side and adjust this as needed. I don't know what oil tank this is, but it's what it had on it before. So we're gonna try and keep it the same and make sure we have enough clearance this time, because that would be really unfortunate. I know we will, but we have, come on. Lo and behold, my other bracket's now gonna be in the way. When I didn't cut off when I had the Fender off, which I should have, but didn't. Get these started and then we'll rip them in. Should be able to adjust the height on this a little bit later. That's an oil bag. Looks really weird looking at this side, but when you come over here, it kind of makes sense. So now with the starter bits in, we got plenty of clearance. I don't need to put a 90 on here. I probably will anyway, just to give myself a little bit more clearance. We're sitting up, we got a nice little gap up here around the frame. Nothing's rubbing, so that's good. I don't like when parts are rubbing. These things vibrate like crazy. So when that happens, eventually you'll wear through something. But solenoid's in, that's as high as that'll sit. We got plenty of space over here for this. We're gonna have to figure out all the wiring and all the other bits as we progress. I don't know what the kicker cover looks like on this one, but that should give us plenty of room. Even with this bolted on, you can get the dipstick in and out, even with this bulky seat. The only other bit would be like the rear exhaust, which we don't have the kicker cover or anything, but that clears and pretty much lines up almost on the mount. I don't know how close he had this before, but pretty close on this rear tab. Can make something work for that for sure. But that gives us all of our clearance. This clears the starter, so that's good. Trying to think if there's anything else. If we got to cut this tab off and move that back, I would much rather prefer to have a better mount than try and double bracket that, which is kind of what this looks like right now. We'll get that queued up once we, probably something like that actually. Move that bracket a little bit farther back, I don't mind. Cutting into that, that's an easy one for the exhaust mount, but oil tank clears, starter stuff clears. I am happy as a clam. as they say. Battery tray is gonna be this little guy. Still gotta cut off one more bracket over here. It sucks because I get bored when I finish getting a bunch of stuff done, and then all I wanna do is play with stuff like this. Where did I have this set up before? Oh, that's what it was. Let's see. See if I can just get this roughly solidified. Check one thing off the list. All of this will have to come off again, which kind of sucks doing it this way, but when you're playing Mockup, it's just so hard not to. I gotta see what it's gonna look like, so I don't end up in the same type of position like I did last time. Come on. Was there a bolt in there that I just dropped? Come on. We'll start with that lower mount first. We're a little too high on the oil tank if we want this all to lay out the right way. Leave everything kind of loose here in terms of mocking it up. Get it set roughly. Man, stupid brackets in my way. Ah, go figure. There we go. That looks better there. All right, we got a slight air gap for the rear fender. That's fine. This is all kind of loosey-goosey right now, but we got room for a battery tray, roughly. We'll have to cut this tab off so I can get in here, tighten this upper bolt down. But that's kind of the... this is rubbing on the exhaust clamp. I don't need that on there right now. Still got room to clear over here, and that's with this sitting lower. So I think I'm actually gonna move that up a little bit, and then we have to play around with some spacers on the other side for the hardware, just to give me a little bit more clearance, but this will all work. Got no issues there. This will clear, this will fit. Let me see if I can get that to kick up a little bit more. Put a small, or a couple washers back there. Cut this tab off because I don't need that up there. But I think I'm good with that. I think I am happy with that. Battery will sit here. Wiring will tie into that. Nice and easy. And then as for the brake, that's the last little bit we still got to figure out at some point. There's plenty of room up here. I think somebody said in the comments, or mentioned in the comments, about doing like a little reservoir or something. We can make something work off of this to try. I'd like to get rid of this whole linkage assembly. I don't need the pivot mount since this is already a pivot point. So this is a little bulky, a little ugly, but we should be able to build a master bracket right off the front of this. And ideally, somehow, figure out some sort of linkage. Ideally, put a master in here somewhere. Or, I don't know. I don't like the big bar running across this, so I do want to get rid of that. Make a bracket, make something, fab up linkages. Ideally, if I can have the master tucked in here somehow, we can run this back over. Maybe we'll do a remote master too. There's a lot of options. But to me, if I can get a stock looking master tucked over here somewhere and make that work, I don't think that's a bad idea. But time will tell. I don't want to tackle the brakes yet. That's going to be probably a whole series of videos trying to get all those to figure out the angles, geometry, where everything needs to be and make all that work proper. But worst case scenario, I have a bracket that we can weld back to the frame and tuck the master back up here like it was originally. It's It's not the cleanest, in my opinion, but we'll see how far we can get timing-wise, or when I need to have this actually done by, I'm assuming once it starts getting nice. Got the rest of winter to finish it, but it's the Midwest, and you never know what you're gonna get. So that's actually gonna wrap this video up. I thought I was gonna do another one tomorrow, but that's gonna wrap this one up for now. We got the oil tank on, we got the battery tray in, roughly. Fender is mostly mounted, minus the sissy bar. Another day closer. One day at a time, even though it's redoing all this stuff I did a couple days ago. But that's how it goes. Can't win them all. Catch you guys on the next one.